And we're live. What's up, everybody? It is 8:30 at night on September 26th. It's a Thursday night of game week. And we unfortunately are coming off our first loss of the year. So we got to work through some stuff. We got to work through some stuff. We got some things to talk about. We got some things to get off our chests. We got some things to work through. It's not fun. A lot less fun to prepare for this after a loss than after a win.
It took us to Thursday.
Yeah, it's we're going to start with some stuff. Let's kick things off. We're just going to talk quickly through our sponsors. So pipeline-jerky.com. I want to make sure everybody goes to pipeline-jerky.com. We're getting hammered a little bit, guys. So I would appreciate if everybody eases off on the comment section on hammering us for pipe. We're not actually out there blocking. We just created the jerky that is behind it. Every bag will help us get better linemen who are consistently getting hurt constantly. Yep. That's super fun. So, every single week we seem to be losing a marquee guy. Turner Corcoran now going down. Prohaska down. Two guys in this picture are down. But good thing is we're deep and the boys are coming back. So buy some jerky. Enjoy it. Get it for your tailgates. It's really very good. The honey barbecue is fantastic. And also, we're doing some fun stuff. We got upcoming tailgates coming up potentially for the Wisconsin game. We've got steaks coming up for Christmas time. The players have been great. So check out pipeline-jerky.com. First, our merch. You guys check out husguysstore.com. We switched up today. I've been wearing This Is the Year hat the entire time. I've switched to Run the Damn Ball, as well as Andrew has shifted to Run the Damn Ball, because not that it's not the year, but, they got to take a little quick step back on it. Maybe it's not quite, the year. But then I've also mixed it up. I went from Pipeline Jerky shirt to If We Die, We Die. And then Andrew's rocking the off-season national championship shirt. Check out husguysstore.com. All right. So now we're going to get into it. And I need to use this first part about it because we need a little bit of therapy here before we kind of go into the game itself.
Let's get something off our chest.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about this football team. So Andrew and I watched the game together. We don't usually do that. We live in different states. We watched this game together. It was not one of my better performances, put it that way. I was thinking about this a lot. I think we all take every game extremely personally. The first one for me is the first loss of the game of the year always just absolutely destroys me. I think it's truly because I build up the entire offseason. All we do is talk we pump Kool-Aid, pump Kool-Aid, pump Kool-Aid. I believe every single word of it. I believe and I think for this one too, especially where last year we lost the Minnesota game, the very first game of the year. You rip the Band-Aid off and and I think we lost 2 years. Almost every year we're ripping the Band-Aid off first game
right away. Yeah.
This is 3-0. One of the best games I've ever been to in my life against Colorado. We are riding absolute high. And I really realized I love the feeling. 3-0 was fantastic. I was getting compliments. People are reaching out. Our follower counts going through the roof. People, friends from all different walks of life are texting. I was loving all of it. And I think I realized I took this loss so much harder because I was oh, this sucks that we're back to not being good again. It's what a complete 360 gut punch. And then, so I think that's kind of where, I just think the pain of it. And then I think there's a spin zone here at the end, which I've come all the way around now by Thursday that I can spin this into a positive. But the pain of being 3-0, everybody's talking about 7-0, 7-0. We're going to start 7-0. We're going to start 7-0. It's just Illinois. A team that we beat handily last year. I think to lose to a team that you thought you were going to win, that you're favored by 8, and they come in and just absolutely maul you in front of 90,000 people. Yeah. The way we lost was extremely painful. Losing to Illinois again, 4 out of 5 seasons, losing to Illinois again. All of those things compounded by making this extremely personal. And I had a hard time getting out of bed until probably today. There we go. How are you feeling? I'm also drinking whiskey tonight because I'm I got to get through this somehow.
Yeah. I mean, it felt like some old demons kind of creeping back out and coming back out of the sewers and stuff, like something that we some old memory or something that you had buried in your closet deep down, and then when you're moving out of your house, you're just oh my god, I forgot about this. What is this still doing in my house? That's what it kind of felt like we were bringing out this old dusty memory book of just horrible, earth-shattering, soul-shattering losses and things that you just are completely unthinkable. And so we do have to talk about the end of the game and kind of how he handled things a little bit. Just let's put it out there in the universe and how we're going to move on with things. But One of the most shocking things was when we missed the field goal. I was like, they're going to go drive down and kick a
Correct.
game-winning field goal. And it
Correct.
was shocking that we made it to overtime because
Correct.
just in classic fashion, we would have lost that in regulation. So that was a
Correct.
nice new twist on torture, was
Yeah.
that we made it to overtime.
It was like
But
no hope, followed by hope, followed by no hope. It was
and then
like
it was the worst overtime to ever be played in the history of football at any level.
yeah,
You will
third
not
and
see
42.
a worst. They score in 2 plays, and we go. We completely forgot how to play football. I mean, we looked
Crazy.
completely comatose. It was just absolutely insane. The offensive line just. I don't know what happened. I have no explanation for the overtime. But let's fast forwarding, I guess. Yeah, I mean, let's kind of break it down a little bit here. So start from the beginning. We'll kind of hash through some things, what went well, what did not go well, and how we're going to fix things and why not all is lost. I would say that's a good place to be. Didn't start out great. It started out with a punt, 4 plays, not a great opening drive and stuff there.
Yeah.
And then Illinois just marched it right down. The thing that stood out to me from the very beginning, like in that first half, was like the length of a lot of their drives.
Mm-hmm.
So they go down, they go up 7-0. They made it look pretty easy. We basically had a blown coverage right off the bat, and that was kind of a sign of things to come. Was that the very first touchdown, the guy was completely uncovered in the end zone. We come back and we're looking pretty darn good. We have a nice long drive, and then it stalls inside the 5-yard line. This is probably like, if you're picking something that I think that you can pin on Satterfield for the day, this would be my moment of like, I mean, we're wearing the hat. Run the damn ball. We're on the 3-yard line against Illinois in your home stadium. You have a first down inside the 5. You pound it.
And after, I mean,
4 straight times
it was an incredible drive. It's an 18-play, 72-yard drive. The defense is tired. You know, they've been on the field for 18 straight plays. That D line is dragging.
Just get it in the end zone.
Yeah.
And they went forward on the first down. The second one was the one where Ramir ran out of bounds.
That was bad. That was hard.
Completely.
That was hard because that's a tough one because Ramir's 6-year senior. He was wide open initially. Rayola had somebody in his face. He kind of rolls out.
Yeah.
And then he runs out of bounds. But you can't do that as a 6-year senior.
No. And then for some reason we decided we're calling a fade route on third. It was a penalty. We got screwed. I agree, but you shouldn't even be in that situation. Run the ball.
Yeah.
Every time.
I think
down
that's
there. And then even if you don't get it, like first drive of the game to tie it, I think you go for it on 4th and just pin them deep and trust that your defense is going to get their SHIT.
So here's a question. I think what they legitimately struggle with, because we're passing a ton in the red zone. I think they struggle a ton with
the fade route from the 2-yard line.
Well, but hear me out. Like I think that they struggle with the fact that Dylan is the best player and they want the ball in his hands for every important play.
Yeah.
You know, and I like that to me is like what's in their brain. Is they're like, all right, we need to roll them out. We need to throw a fade route. We need to do something, because they don't quite seem to have the confidence in Dowdell or Emmett or one of these guys to run it up the middle, which it's not excusable. I mean, and we're not about to face the worst, rush defense in the country. But the other thing, even before that too, like I think there was that drive was, that's an 18-play, 72-yard drive that covered the span of 8 minutes. That's a fantastic football drive.
I mean, it was
that's like if you want to look back, like we were actually in control of this game up through halftime, especially up through that, except for that first drive for them was very concerning. Like kind of skipped over that. Like they were mauling us. Absolutely. Like massive open holes, like all sorts of stuff. You were like, that to me was a little like, especially like when you compare it to like the Colorado game where they went 3 and out, 3 sacks, and like things were a disaster. So that was concerning.
Yeah. I mean, the day you look back on the game, and of course it's like, it's not one play that lost it, but it's a culmination of missed opportunities.
Again,
it started on our second drive. Missed opportunities. Like you're inside the 5. If you run it 3 straight times and you don't get in, so be it. But like, I would like to think that we can trust that we can move Illinois 3 yards with a goal line.
In 2 plays. Yeah, exactly. Which they did later in the game. In their defense, the Bonner play later in the game was they figured it out. They ran it. They ran, kind of a cutesy little play. Um, but
Yeah.
even at this point, right? So your field goal followed
Right.
by,
Yeah,
so like
you're still feeling okay.
you're
Like,
feeling
but
okay because
you
the,
get
the
points.
next they go two plays fumble, which we
Mhm.
did force two turnovers. Like this defense is doing a great job forcing turnovers,
Sure.
struggling with tackling. Um, but you follow that fumble up, 4-play touchdown, and this is the Rayola show, the one to Naylor in the back
Well,
of the end zone. So like
God,
he,
fantastic.
I mean, Rayolas.
I mean, that was like hot knife through butter, and honestly, I was feeling pretty good at that point too.
It was just a sigh of relief. Is 10-7. You're like,
Yeah.
okay, I
Scoring
think
4 plays right after the turnover, that's
four
great.
plays after the turnover, and also Rail is he's looking dialed. I mean, an 18-play drive that he drives them all the way down, followed by a touchdown. You're like, all right, this guy is locked in, and he
Yeah.
was the whole game. But then they marched right back down our throats. I mean, it was like, it's hard to say. Like, even the more I think about it, like, I don't even know. Like, I've seen a lot of people go back and forth, and they're like, "This is a great football game. This is like two very evenly matched teams," and we were. Like we
Yeah.
had the exact same number of yards, we had the exact same number of time of possession. We
Right.
had a long drive, they had a long drive, and I think if I had come into it more with the mindset of like this is a slobber knocker of like two top 20 teams, maybe I would have appreciated it more. But the fact that we're favored by 8 and we should have beat this team is, I think, made this whole thing like a lot more challenging.
Yeah. Yeah, and then comes the turning point, or another turning point of the game, which is where Nair has a touchdown in his hands, and I could have sworn the rule was if you catch the ball in the end zone, it's a touchdown, and I I stood corrected because it turns out that's an interception if the defender gets a hand on it soon enough. So that was an absolutely brutal. And then like again, I mean that's a near perfect throw from Rayola. Like
Yep.
you could maybe have put it 1 foot further and it would have been better, maybe. But like your receiver's hands are on it in the
Yeah.
end zone in stride. You're expecting that to be a touchdown. And I like, holy cow. At that point, when they called that, it was like you get that kind of weird feeling in your stomach where you're starting to say things that you're like, you're trying to suppress this rage and you're trying to suppress these emotions that are coming out of you. But like something started boiling at that point where I was like, this is feeling a little weird.
Yeah.
Things don't seem to be going our way.
Yeah, and I mean, the more I think about it, like we had that and I'm going to forget which drive it was. Like we had a face mask call on 4th down for them. I think it must have been the next drive
Yeah.
that could have been called, could have continued their drive. Like there were probably more things that went. There were probably more things that went our way than we're thinking, but like that one's tough because that's especially. I mean, it's 2 weeks in a row that he's thrown a touchdown pass that's been ripped out of our wide receivers' hands. So like I think those
From the
guys
best
are.
case scenario to the worst in a matter of seconds.
I mean, 2 in a row where like, and again, Naylor played a great game, 2 touchdown catches. Like, I think he's a real deal.
Yeah.
Him and Banks both played absolutely outstanding. But
Yeah.
it is tough when you're like, so now we're at like basically two touchdowns that were thrown. Ramirez stays in bounds, and this one,
Yeah.
and you're not even at halftime.
Yeah. I mean, help give Dylan throw him a bone here a little bit. Good heavens. Like,
Yeah.
the receiver's running out of bounds and they're just getting stripped in the end zone.
Yeah.
In both
Yeah, and
cases,
that's
theirs is just like uncharacteristically like, I mean, we've already seen Nair come down with that this year.
Yeah, that's tough. I mean, that's a bummer of a play. But again, I think like even now I'm looking back at this drive chart going into
Yeah.
halftime. We go from getting intercepted, but then
Yeah.
they don't drive down to score. 9 plays, 50 yards. We
Yeah.
score a touchdown. Hot knife through butter. 9 plays, 70 yards. I
Yeah.
mean, Rayola is absolutely a magician, thrown over his shoulder, just like does the 2-minute drill to perfection again. I mean, that's what the 4th time he's run a 2-minute drill to perfection, all the way down, 70 yards, 3 minutes, right on the dot, and you score with 16 seconds left. I mean, just absolute
That
like
touchdown was ridiculous.
absolutely remarkable. They take a
He's
knee
like
and
falling
ask him,
over, hand in his face.
hand in his
Something
face.
about it
So
to him.
it's 17-10 at halftime, and we're in control. We've had,
Yeah.
we control time of possession, we control the yards, we control down and distance, all these things, and they're not doing much. Like they had that first drive, and then we shut them down. They had 1 field goal after that, but like 17-10 coming out of that when we started down 7, you take that,
Yeah.
right? And like you feel pretty good about 17-10 going into the half. And that's just, I don't know. That's where like then the wheels just like absolutely came off.
Yeah,
I just think,
I mean, yeah, let's get into the second half because this is where things start to get ugly. But
no, shoot, I'm looking at the slides. Here we go. Yeah, so I mean, Yeah, it went. I guess you start punt, but then after that, Illinois scored every single time they had the ball, and I just
about.
I guess that's where man, I just don't know. Like I don't know if they're tired, if they're like, what happened?
I mean,
but
there's been a trend, and it has been mentioned in our comments by Manzer. Thank you. Second halves have sucked every game. That is the blunt but correct way to probably put it. We have not done enough in these second halves to like violently put teams away. Like I mean, Colorado, you kind of got a hint of that. Northern Illinois, you kind of got a hint of that, where you're just kind of you're hoping for a little bit more. You're hoping for a little bit more finish.
Yep.
Even UTEP, and so when Illinois tied it up on their second drive, they went down and they're on that possession. They went what was it, 11 plays,
57 yards, 5 minutes time of possession
drive, and then the next scoring drive that they have is another
9 play, 75
9-play drive. So I mean, they're converting, they're extending drives, but the biggest glaring thing that we saw was that on almost every single touchdown catch, we were not in the same stratosphere as
it was the same. They ran the same play 3 times.
It was crazy. Yeah.
The same play 3 times. They just had a different guy leak out of the backfield each time. One of the times it was a wide receiver who lined up at fullback, or it was Bryant had lined up at fullback, or
that one was overtime, I think.
Yes, was that the overtime? And then one of them was a tackle was tackle eligible, and then another time they just snuck out. But yeah, that's the big question. I mean, drive by drive, you can do that. I felt Tony White got very badly outcoached, and I don't know.
And that was probably the first time since Michigan last year.
First time since I think Michigan just mauled us. Like I don't think that was this was like a very clearly they had guys running in the exact right spots. They were running in the exact right holes. They were calling the exact right play every single time. They found the perfect hole, like in Northern Iowa did too. Really, if you look back at that game, that's partly where I think if you take a big step back for Husker Nation, and I think why the reaction to this has been so concerning is I think it's 2 straight games where both times he's like, are people figuring out the 3-3-5 is I think what people are concerned about. It was fantastic all of last year, but now it's like, 3rd and 9 completion, right? Like 3rd and 8 completion, 8, 9 yard. I mean, he was averaging 8 to 9 yards every single pass. They averaged 5 yards per rush and ran for 130 yards in the second half alone. 130 yards in the second half alone is what Illinois is doing. And so I think that's like, I kind of go back to what we were saying to Ryan last week on the show, where he was like, what does good look like for you guys? Like, what would it look like? And I think the answer was we as Nebraska fans know what good football looks like. And this was not good football, right? That's like painful to watch. It's painful to watch your defense get gashed 5 to 6 yards per rush, 8 yards per pass when the game's on the line. And I think that's probably what has people the most nervous is like you come into the season and you're like, or at least the first 3 games of the season, you're like, this defense is nails. We gave up 20 points in 3 games. That Colorado defense was flying all over the place with 6 sacks, unbelievable pressure. Like, who's going to stop, And then to watch us get, blown off the ball was pretty hard to watch.
Yeah, and the same kind of goes for the offense. Like, you need to be able to run the ball to win Big Ten football games, period. I mean, really to win any football games, but in the Big Ten, we know how this goes, and we know how one possession games go. When we are when we're winning 17-10 in the second half, I know they tied it early, but we go up 24-17. Like, that's the point where you're hoping to see, before that even happens, like that 9-play drive was fantastic and stuff, great play, but you want to see us be able to start leaking clock early and just start with the 10-minute drives that are absolute backbreakers.
Mm-hmm.
And our first half rushing this year, we have 70 rushes for 360 yards. It's 5.14 yards per carry. In the second half and overtime, we have 67, almost the same amount of rushes for 202 yards, 3.01 yards per rush. So that is nearly 2 yards per rush less in the second half. On third downs, we are we have 14 first downs on 22 attempts rushing. Doesn't sound terrible, but that's a lot of like 3rd and 1 to 3, 3rd and 4 to
Yep.
6. And like those are just those easy conversions that you need to be able to reliably rush. And it's the situational rushing that I think is like the last thing holding this offense back right now, which is surprising because it is the exact opposite of what we all kind of thought going into the year. Going into the year, you've got a stable of 4 running backs. Irvin hasn't really seen the field. Emma Johnson didn't get a carry in this game. So you basically got Dowdle and Ramir doing things. I think some of us thought Emma Johnson was going to be the presumed starter going into the year. So that was unexpected. Our strength of the offense last year, just by default, because we couldn't pass more than 4 yards at a time or ever, was our rushing game. We averaged about 170 yards rushing a game last year. And so these are like surprising things because now we can suddenly pass. Our best 3 players are Rayola, Banks, and Nair. And then we can't figure out how to run. We rushed for 1.45 yards per rush against Illinois, if you include the sack yardage. So, I mean, that's unacceptable. And, it eventually led to our demise here as well. Like,
what do you think? I mean, what do you think of Dowdell as the starter?
Good. He runs hard.
Yeah.
He runs very north and south. I think you do need a change of pace back. Ramir's perfect for that, or Emmett Johnson. I'd like to see Emmett get some more carries. I think Gabe is, unfortunately, like, he's too similar to Dowdle almost to be getting as many carries.
Yeah, I mean, he had 20 carries, 72 yards. He runs hard. It's hard to say how much of it's like rushing or the offensive line or the play call or whatever, but it is tough when you're in this situation where it is, gosh, I mean, you look back at where we were, 24-17, you're feeling pretty good with, and then they march down the field and just absolutely obliterate us, followed by a quick 3-and-out, which was I think was that our only 3-and-out? No, I guess we had a couple. We had some bad second half drives.
It was when Rayola fumbled twice. Like that's again a time where like, okay, it's 24-24 in the fourth quarter. You got under 10 minutes. Can you just completely bleed this thing down? And eventually we had a drive that was great, but like that would have been a great drive to not be airing it out and just say, all right, we're gonna take this into our own hands. But like, you go 3 plays, 2 fumbles from Rayola. That's the play calling there too. But
but then I mean, then the defense stands up. Defense stands up with a fumble, and you're like, God. But even so, like this whole, I don't know. I felt weird this entire even the missed field goal drive. I just had I don't know why I had such a bad feeling. I was just like, we got to bleed it. We weren't bleeding it enough. Like I was like, they're gonna, even if we kick a field goal, they're gonna go back and score.
I mean, that was definitely the point where it started to get really unfun in your house. And at that point, you left the house entirely.
Yeah. I needed a quick break. I just needed to find myself.
I literally left the home, and we didn't know if you were coming back.
No, I had to go find myself. I went on a personal mission to find myself. I didn't find myself.
Husker Nation, I mean, I don't know if anyone else handles things poorly, but I was down on the ground, face down in the living room. I mean, so it was out of the house entirely, taking a walk around the house.
So, I mean, the two plays that are absolutely – so, like, we've already identified, 4 or 5 of them. So, you've got Ramir running out of bounds. You've got the ball that gets ripped out of his hands. You've got – and now you have 2 plays right here that is basically the only plays that Huskers fans have been talking about is 3rd and 3 on the Illinois 21-yard line. Again, is this a Dowdell run for 4 yards? Then you can – because there's 3 minutes left in the game. You run that down, and if he gains 3 yards or you do a quick little option play, whatever it is, if you gain those 3 yards – you're running that clock all the way down to 30 seconds, right? That clock is gone. Yeah. And instead, we go for the end zone, which I appreciate. Like, I think it was open. It was there.
Yeah.
Rayola completes that pass 99 out of 100 times.
Right.
You got, what's Lindenmeyer's his name? What is his
Leaving Tripp.
Yeah. You had hit, which, everybody was hammering him for that. Like, why isn't that Fedoni? Like, the play doesn't work if it's Fedoni. The play works because they're not suspecting him to go out for a pass. He is wide open. He is 15 yards wide open. Rayola overthrows him. That you score a touchdown there. game
Yeah.
over. We're
And
talking
he
about a
completed
win.
every other
We're
pass.
still we are still very concerned about the team, but you're celebrating a win. You're 4-0, and you're heading into Purdue week 4-0, which would be freaking awesome, but we're not. Then I guess the missed field goal was like so freaking classic. Of like, yeah, I was finally like looking this kid up. I didn't
Just
even
a
know who this
comedy
kid.
of errors.
I didn't even know who this kid was. And like we got
Yeah.
Alvano. Alvano's hurt. We bring in this kid who's basically a walk-on from Lincoln Southwest. He made 3 field goals in high school.
They looked good though.
3.
I bet they looked real good.
So then he went to Iowa Western. He redshirted for a year. He didn't kick once. And his first, he made the first field goal of the night. So props to him for making it. But his second field goal of his career is in the highest, most pressure packed situation in of the season. And it's like that. That to me is like
didn't go great.
That to me comes back to like coaching of like, one, why don't we have better kickers on the roster? Which like it's been 10 years of just having the worst kickers of all time. I don't understand this.
Yeah.
Like a kicker is going to get hurt. You got to have a second kid, and he can't just be like a walk-on who decided to like show up to practice yesterday. Like get a freaking kicker.
Yeah.
But then the other part of it is like, if you know this kid's not that good, why are you putting him out there in like the most important situation of the season? If they had gone for it and missed it,
he just like didn't sound like he even second guessed it, and I kind of don't blame him. Like it's a 39-yard field goal.
It's a 39. It's a chip shot field goal.
It's just, it's 4th down. You're in a great spot. You kind of just take the points. And he was like, I just thought it was a makeable. Like I don't even think he really, I don't blame him for just kind of saying like this is anything within 40 yards, like you're kicking with 3 minutes left.
Yeah, and so I think that's what I mean. As everybody looks at this game, you've got missed field goal, you've got a missed touchdown pass, you got a touchdown that got ripped away, and you've got Ramir. So that's 4 separate plays. But like Nick was talking about the what if game. It's like being like the king of the what if game. Like we've been playing the what if game so now everybody's been throwing around these stats. That's 31 1-score losses since 2018. And it's okay. It's unfair to put this all on Frost. Like those are all Frost losses. Got it. Now Rule's lost 5
What if
straight.
we won half of those?
Matt Rule has lost 5 straight 1-score games, and he's lost 6 out of 7 1-score games. Like he's on the meltdown track too. So you're like, what is going on with these guys that they can't kind of turn this thing around? But there's this element of like, it's like when you're in these crunch time games, I don't know. It's just like, how do you put these guys in a better position to win? We're chasing 3. We're talking about all this stuff.
We're still chasing 3.
We are still chasing 3. We're not even close to 3. We don't have a kicker to make the chasing 3. So I guess it's like, when you play the what if game for a decade, you go like, oh, what if Adrian hadn't fumbled against Michigan? What if we had made this kick here? What if the Michigan State kick had, like, the fact of the matter is 31 times, all of the what ifs, we screwed up every time. And a lot of these aren't like bad calls. They're legitimately just complete the pass, Dylan. It's like he played absolutely out of his mind. Nobody's going to criticize the kid. He's an absolute gem. He's the best we've got. But like he can, you got to throw it, you got to catch it. In that situation, like you need that play and you need this kick.
The spin zone, I guess, like when it's all said and done, because this one hurt. Like I will admit it to any Illinois fan that wants to hear it. This one, I mean, God, this was just a big kick in the knockers for sure. The spin zone is that if you're going to trust, like before this season even started, if you were going to say, hey, like one side of the ball plays a bad game, like who is in a better position to recover faster and get back on track faster, you're probably going to say the defense.
Yeah.
Like the before the season started, before we knew anything, we would have said, okay, if the offense like isn't massively better, like, yeah, that makes sense. We did not see the defense being massively worse. And I think that we've now had 2 games in a row where like they've just had extended drives and like situational defense has not gone well. I would say that I trust Tony White to get the defense right, probably even more than I thought that we'd be getting the offense right. And so it's very encouraging that our offense is putting up like pretty impressive numbers. And I think that Tony White proved himself enough last year in year 1 that with largely the same personnel, I'm expecting that it can get our act together here a little bit.
Yeah, I think
the biggest concern remains the secondary. Like after that game, I'm actually a little scared. Malcolm Hartzog in man defense is rated on Pro Football Focus as the 14th worst in the country out of like over 600 defensive backs. He's the 14th worst in man coverage for his
I mean,
ratings.
yeah, Tommy Hill being out is not good.
Yeah. So I mean,
I mean, that's what it is. I
there's
mean, now we're
definite concern.
flashing up the stats on the screen. You can see some. I hadn't looked through these in a minute, but
Yeah.
every single receiver averaged a first down per catch. So Bryant,
No, he was
5
just
catches.
gashing us. The
I mean,
defense was way too
that's
soft.
14 yards per catch for Pat Bryant, 10 yards per catch for Franklin, 7 yards per catch, 12 yards per catch, 15 yards per catch, 14 yards. I mean, that's crazy. Every catch was a first down.
You're right. I mean, and if you look at all of their long catches as well, you've got Bryant with a long catch of 29. You've got Franklin at 17, Aiken at 12. I mean, and it goes on. You've got 6 players in double digits that all had catches over 10 yards. So, I mean, they were gashing us. And the craziest thing was that, like, we didn't seem to adjust. And that's probably what Tony White wants back the most, is that you saw what happened when Sierra Wright went and put some pressure on. We end up with a strip sack. But, like, we didn't seem to be able to get any pressure. And then we were also not covering well. So I was like, what's the strategy here?
Well, I think that's what's like. It's sort of mind-boggling in the sense that, like, is Illinois' offensive line that good? Is Colorado's defensive line or offensive line not bad? Like, it's sort of hard to figure out because that Colorado defense was incredible. I mean, it was like guys were blitzing from the left and the right. You had Jamari was coming off one end. You had Nash was in the backfield at all times. You had Robinson in the backfield at all times. And so that stuff's confusing because you're like, that didn't happen once all game. And, they were double teaming Nash, they were double teaming Ty and stuff. But, like, did Colorado not do that all game? And then, as much as I want, like, I still don't think Colorado's going to make a bowl game, but they're putting up points right now. Right.
Sure.
So, like,
yeah,
they're still they're not putting up 0 points. And, like, now I'm like looking at their schedule. They just put they put up 28 on Colorado State. They put up 38 on Baylor. I know those teams stink, but, like, that's not 0. And the fact that we shut them completely out.
Yeah.
And then you turn around and kind of have
got something.
I just think it's like, if that team can figure it out, and maybe it was a matchup nightmare. I don't know what, but that's definitely a concern. But
yeah,
full spin zone though.
Yep.
Spin this thing back into positive. Back to positive. This side of the right side, I think Banks is the real deal.
Banks is the real deal.
I mean, he caught some passes that were like we haven't seen in 10 years. Like, it was like he had the toe drag on the left side.
Yeah, he doesn't drop the ball.
The fade route, like, I mean, Dylan and him have something special going on. He had 8 catches for 94 yards, 11 yards a catch. Nayor also, I think, is a dog. I think he's like a real deal guy. Like, 4 catches, 90 yards, 2 touchdowns, 22 yards a catch. And so the fact that Rayola's got those 2 guys, I think is pretty special. Fedoni had a great game, 2 for 46. Barney's a stud. Like, we've got some dudes on offense, and our offense is fun to watch. That's where, like, also this thing was like such a freaking bummer. Is you're like, all right, we're just going to go into like a depressing hole all week. And, like, anytime we put up a highlight or something, people hammer us and they're like, stop talking about this stuff. The team stinks. You're like, well, that offense is pretty fun. Yeah. Like, Banks is fun. Nayor's fun. Fedoni's fun. Like, the running game's okay. And Rayola is freaking really good. Really, really good.
I mean, we are definitely victims of hyperbole and in how we talk, but Rayola may end up going down as the best player to ever play at Nebraska. And I mean, I don't mean to
slightly aggressive.
I'm just saying, like, you're looking at a kid that has first round quarterback talent. And
I guess if you break it down that way of like who's going to have
to get to that point,
who will be like an NFL pick. Yeah, I guess, but you can't put him over like Crouch's Heisman season or like Tommy Frazier.
All I said is could be. And
hey, I will take it. I mean, it's a treat to watch. It's a treat to watch him play football. And I think you haven't said that about a lot of guys. Like, I think Trey Palmer is a treat to watch play football. Like, he truly was, that was a legit player. He's an NFL talent. Like, those guys who come around not very often. Stu is a treat to watch play football. Like, all these guys are a treat to watch. And so I think that element of, like, having these players, you can't be losing on that. Here's my other, and I don't know if we're still covering this stuff, but betting's on Purdue, right? Here's my, like, my macro spin zone.
Okay.
All right. So I was loving the 7-0 talk. Like I loved all of it. I drank all the Kool-Aid. I spit out all the Kool-Aid. I like was, guzzling it all. I was feeding it all to masses. I do think, I don't know, it's not that it got in people's heads, but like there is this element of now like that we're going to win all these games. We're going to go 10-2 talk. Like I feel like the pressure is off in a lot of ways. And this is again, giant spin zone, but like pressure being off. What's crazy about the rest of our schedule now is this 7-0 talk, 7-0. We are about to face, so we'll get into Purdue in a second, but Indiana is going to be undefeated in a top 20 team when we play them. Like they're not going to lose, and they're going to score 45 points a game. So that's going to be an upset.
No, I pumped the brakes there. They might lose to Maryland. Only favored by 7.
Well, okay,
but go on.
Theoretically, like say them and Rutgers, but Rutgers will also be undefeated. So there's this element to me of like instead of going into all 4 straight games being heavy favorite of like Nebraska's putting together a special season and having all of the pressure on being the favorite, all the pressure is going to be on them for the next 3 games. So I don't know. That to me is like maybe you play this underdog spoiler role to like an Indiana season, which is freaking crazy that we have to even like say that sentence. But like
spoil Indiana's historic 7-5 season.
Yeah, but they'll be what 5-0 when they play us, and Rutgers will be the top 25 when we play them too. So I just think that like I think when you go into a good Rutgers game and a good Indiana game, and we're the heavy favorites, I feel like we're bound to lose one of these games. Sucks that it was Illinois. Like I hate that it was, but I don't know. That's kind of my Giants.
So number one, I think we have the talent to be a top 25 team. We have the 23rd most talent, if you trust the 247 composite roster rankings, 23rd. So if you have got the 23rd most talent, you should be able to play up to that level. Number 2 is if you believe in teams just playing and having bad games and coaches having bad games, then I think maybe we're onto something there of like, maybe they just played like hot garbage against Illinois, and then they shook that off and they said, we're not doing that again. And they didn't play like garbage the rest of the year. I like that too. And then number 3 is I think this coaching staff has a pretty good grip on like the whole, like the way that you rebound and don't let one loss turn into 2, turn into 3, turn into 4. Like I am ready to talk Purdue because this is the ultimate flush it game. If you bounce back and beat Purdue here, hopefully handily, this is like okay, the vibes are back up, and now we're heading into like kind of the meat of the schedule and stuff and the week after that. So,
well, you're 4-0, you're 4-1 heading into bye week, which would be freaking awesome. So you need that. Purdue lost 66-7 to Notre Dame. That's crazy.
Oh,
they also got run out by Oregon State.
Correct. So there's some interesting betting stats. We've got Purdue has won 2 of their last 3 games against us. Don't love that, but we crushed them last year.
Patricia, she's saying what's up. She says, "Hope you're handsome in your photo." You're saying, "What's up, Patricia? What you got going on here?" We might have some bots.
Porn bots are checking in, and they
porn bots are
how we're doing on our live chat. Hey, thanks, Patricia.
Thanks, Patricia. All right, let's talk Purdue. Let's do this.
Nebraska's 3-1 against the spread this season. Purdue is yet to force a turnover. I can't believe that that's true, but that is apparently the way things have gone for their defense. Love that for us. First half over. Nebraska has hit in 8 of our last 11. I think second half, a completely different story. Nebraska, we have won 2 games against the spread this season. We're 2-2. We're 1-0-1 against the spread when favored by 10 or more. We have hit the
wait. We're not. I thought we covered the spread 3 times. No?
When favored by 10 or more. 2 against the spread. Well, I guess depending on where you look there.
I thought I thought the first 3 we covered the spread 3 times. No? We covered against Colorado. We covered against Utah. We not covered against Northern Iowa.
Northern was it was 28.5 on one site. I added a 32.5.
Yeah, so
they did not cover for me, but
close.
Maybe I'm betting the wrong spreads, which I probably am. I just have
Yeah.
way too much confidence. And then the average total that we have had set in games this season is 2.5 more points than this outing's point total. So they're dropping the point total on this game against Purdue. So on to the next one. We are Purdue is stinky. Here's where I'm feeling good and where I'm feeling not so good. But their offense, not good. Their offensive efficiency, not good. They're decent at rushing the ball, and this is going to be a good test for our defensive line. But the theme of this game is this is a get right game. Like, this is a get your shit back together and get focused and finish this month on a high note. Passing yards 171.7 per game. That ranks 111th in the country. Rushing yards 183 per game, a little better at 49th in the country. Points scored 25.7, 105th in the country. Pass yards against 123.3, pretty good, 9th in the country. However, no one needs to pass on Purdue. They're giving up 269 rushing yards per game. That's 132nd in the country, and they're giving up 34.7 points on that 269 rush yards per game. 34.7 points allowed per game is 119th. So this is a run the ball down their throats all day. Let Raiola, just hand the ball off, give it to all four of our backs, like from the beginning of the game. You've seen what worked. You saw what just worked last week. You saw Notre Dame put up a 60 burger on them.
I'm looking at the Notre Dame box scores. Notre Dame had 578 total yards, 362 rushing yards. But the only thing that Notre Dame and Oregon State both have,
362 rushing yards is insane.
362 rushing yards. That's old school Nebraska rushing yards. But they did have, they got 100. Both Oregon State and Notre Dame had 100 rushing yards from their quarterback. So there's clearly like an issue stopping the run on a running quarterback, which we do not have.
We do have Harburg. Sure. I wouldn't be surprised if we actually get him in for a couple of special packages, like in the first 10 second halves.
Purdue still has Hudson Card. That's crazy.
Yep.
That dude's been around forever.
Transferred from Texas. Yeah. So looking at these stats alone, we can move on to the next one. But that's going to be where things are won, is basically our offensive line. I'm a little bit worried about Corcoran going down, although, historically he hasn't been the best, but that's just me coping. Now we've got Katula that's going to be starting back there. This is his first year that he's been starting games. A little bit worrisome there. And then you got Mazuka, who apparently is a complete psychopath. Would love for him to be taking it out on Purdue players and not our own players and coaching staff. But here we are. I would be shocked if he does not play this weekend.
Yeah, you got to play it.
And then we flip to their defense versus our offense. Their defense is pure poop. They are so bad. But they've got Kydron Jenkins. This guy's an absolute stud. He was all league last year. Look at his tackles for loss. He's got 5.5 tackles for loss already. He leads their team in tackles as well. And then he's got 3.5 sacks on the season. They've only played 3 games. So 2 quarterback hurries as well. He's a stud. He's the one guy to game plan against on their team. Yeah. They've got a decent secondary, but their defensive line is just trash. And we need to be able to handle trash.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. It's a get right game. It's, they are struggling, and I got a buddy of mine's a big Purdue fan, and he's like, this team is, they've moved on to basketball basically is where they're at. And I think when when their fan base is like that, you're like, all right, these guys they're just not the Purdue of old. Ryan Walters appears to be a little bit in over his head, which is good for us. But obviously what you have to do is, you can't let this be like their one game. Like Purdue comes out every year and they've got one game that they play out of their minds, and hopefully it's not this game. But they'll upset Ohio State. They'll upset Notre Dame. They'll do something crazy and beat somebody. So,
love this.
They got enough talent that they can do it. You got Hudson Card. They've got Reggie Love. They've got some talent on the team. Mockney's pretty good too. But what's the line? 10, right?
The line's 10. And maybe I'm feeling irrationally confident, but I just see these rushing numbers. If you go on to the next one there, Dave, like it puts it in even further display. But they like the rushing numbers alone, we tend to do pretty well against teams when you already kind of know their weakness. You don't necessarily have to be two-dimensional to beat them. Like if you trotted out the Army or Navy on this team, like you could probably still beat this Purdue team. They're that bad at defending the run. I mean, looking at these percentages here as well, just a lot of green pointing towards the Huskers. 5.3 yards per play to produce 4.8. 0.4 points per play to produce 0.2. That's doubling them up. Our completion percentage is a stark difference, 71.29% for Nebraska, 43.9% Hudson Card not getting done. And then probably the biggest one that stands out that's going to, I think, end up determining, like, are we going to cover the spread or not, is the third down conversions. We're at 50% on the year, and we actually did decent against Illinois. Purdue is at 14%. 14% converting their third downs. And that's the difference right there. To me, like, can our defense, they have not been able to get off of the field.
Yeah.
Like, they didn't do it against Illinois. They did all these long extended drives. Northern, like, they had long extended drives on us. It didn't result in points, which was awesome. But, like, you're hoping not to bend against that team. And then Illinois, it was bend and they broke. So that's the difference, I guess, for me, is like those third downs. Can we get off the field? Can we extend it on our own? Can we just run the ball down their dang throats? And then you also got Dylan Raiola in your back pocket, if he's needed, which he'll get his numbers and he'll throw. But I would love for this to be like a 100-yard rushers day. Let Harburg get some minutes and stuff. Let Harburg run a couple series. The quarterback run, we killed him on it last year.
Yeah.
And it was our best game last year by far. And good Lord, could we use that right now?
Yeah, I feel good about it because I think I'd seen this feature on, I think Urban Meyer said this, and so did Saban, of like, I think everybody assumes that players lock in more after wins and they're like more confident playing after wins. He's like, it's actually after losses because players, especially college athletes, take so much pride in their game and they get so pissed off, and now they're getting dragged across campus, and they're like that week of practice after a loss, at least according to those two guys, I'm sure Rule would say the same, ends up being the best week of practice and like the most, focused week of practice. And so that's where I think you have that confidence of like all the stats add up. We're good. We're good. Like, this is a good team. You've got a good quarterback. You've got good wide receivers. You've got good running backs. You've got good defensive players too that are just not making the plays they need to be. But everything kind of points in the direction of, this is a get right game. This is gets the boys good. And then you head into a bye week too. I mean, heading to the bye week at 4-1, I think anybody would be thrilled with that heading into that. Like, obviously we're talking about 7-1 talk, or 7-0 talk, but you head in the bye week 4-1. You haven't done that since 2016. Yeah, you just gotta win. You gotta find a way to win. You can't have like a monumental, like, don't let the wheels fall off.
Yeah,
just stay focused, keep the boys going.
No, 100%. I mean, and like, if Purdue's picked last in the Big Ten, if you can't beat this team, like, I mean, wheels are off.
You got something seriously wrong in your whole season.
It's
like,
just, cancel the podcast, cancel the.
Yeah, well, I think that's why it's like these are the games. When you make $9 million a year, this is what you got to win. You can't make $9 million and lose these games over and over and over again. And I mean, that's where it's like, look, we're all on Team Rule. We're all like, nobody's jumping off yet. But that's 5 straight one-score game, complete meltdowns in unthinkable fashion. It's like, all right, this is the exact same thing that it's been for the last 10 years. I trust him. I think he's the guy to fix it. I think he's got the operational savvy. I think he's got the right team. I think he's got the right folks and the right coaches. You just got to do it, And I think there's like, you got to win this game. And I think you win this game, you head into the bye week, and then you've got those two right after. If you got Rutgers and Indiana, then you are staring down like 2 good games, heading into like the Ohio State week, and just get the confidence going, I think, is probably most important.
Yeah. I mean, Purdue's got, they've got some random spark plugs. They had like the 30th ranked transfer class, I believe, something like that. But they had two Georgia receivers that came in, University of Georgia, that Georgia. And then they've got two Georgia players on defense as well. One's their like lockdown corner and stuff. So, keep it away from their secondary, I think. Like, pass if you have to, but this should be a run first game, first and foremost. You got Raiola. This was like my favorite play of the game. His drop back on this play. It's 1st and 10, but you're responding to an Illinois touchdown. Defender in his face, chucking it up to Fedoni, just like finding him in open space while he's getting tackled. And his head, he got hit in the head. Got a little forearm shiver on this play. This to me is like all of his potential in a nutshell. Like he backpedaled just enough so that Fedoni could kind of like peel out on his route and get open. And all the way down to the 2-yard line, you almost have a touchdown there. Like this drive to an Illinois touchdown, that's my, play of the game. And I think lands Dillon with a nice surprise swag player of the week as well. I mean, you got to hand it to him. Offensive player this time around. He also had a nice walking the dog, I think it was. He was doing a little dog walking in the end zone at a different juncture in the game when he pitched it to Bonner.
That was awesome.
Watch that replay back, but it was absolutely awesome. But he's a gamer. I'm glad we've got him. Let's make some bets, shall we?
Some gambling, some picks. 199 for Raiola. I think he hits that.
Yeah. So these are on a website not to be named, but because we don't have any official sponsorships yet. But yeah, we can go through a couple bets here and see what we're taking over and under here. So up at the very top, we got Dowdle receiving yards 5.5, and then receiving plus rushing yards 86.5. I said it earlier a few minutes ago. I'm going overs.
For both?
Oh yeah. Well, probably not. I don't know. They don't really pass to Dowdle, honestly. On the
has he had 86 rushing yards this season?
That's like one catch. But this is like a get him to 100 yards.
I don't know. I'd take the under on that.
Really?
I don't think he's had 86 yards rushing all season.
This is the worst rushing defense in the country.
Well, all right. Good point. Well, only reason I hesitate because it seems like when we're like, okay, maybe you could talk me into this. He had 20 carries last week. Like he's clearly going to be like the dark horse. I guess my brain went to each of the games, the first 3 games where we were actually playing really well. We split it up. Dowdell got some. Yeah. Ramir had 7 to 8 carries, and then
I think that would be the reason that he doesn't. Is that
that's what I'm saying. He'll get 50 or 60, and I guess if it's because they're bad, 86 should seem manageable. But I just think the way that we throw it to Ramir and give it to Ramir and give it to Barney and give it to and spread it out when this offense is chilling. That's the only thing I'm like 86. I don't think he's had that all season. If you don't get it against UTEP, I don't know if you're getting it against these guys, but I don't know. 5 receiving yards feels like an over.
Yeah, they just have to pitch it out to him one time, and I think we are going to see that. Like, if Kydran is coming off of the edge, like he's a big time pass rusher, it's going to be like dumps to the running back and quick screen passes to Barney and whatnot. So Raiola at 199.5 pass yards.
Over.
You like that over?
Yeah, definitely.
I think
he's done every game, hasn't he? 4 straight games.
I think probably, but and
because I also think
again, this is just going to be a matter of like if we end up getting up by a couple possessions, you're just going to keep handing the ball off, yeah?
Yeah, but I don't know. If he's in the game, he's throwing the ball. I also think the thing that we haven't had all season that I think potentially can come against Purdue is we haven't had the Jalen Lloyd 70-yard bomb yet.
Just
bombs. Yeah,
he's had 1 or 2.
No, but I'm saying the true Trey
Yeah.
Palmer bomb, the true like Trey Palmer bombs away.
Send it to the moon.
Yeah, they'll like Dylan could throw the ball 70 yards. So
I
it's like
love a good Trey Palmer bomb.
the bombs away, just like you're on your own 20, and he just like lets it loose, and there's 70, and then all he needs is like 120 more.
All right. So you think 1.5 pass touchdowns over under for
Over.
Rayola?
Over. Yeah.
202 tutties at least. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. I that 235 with the rush, like I don't think he's gonna get 35 rushing yards. I think he'll get it all passing. Like I don't think he's had like 10 rushing yards all season. So I don't know what that one's about.
I think one that's a lock is Nair for 43.5 receiving yards. Like
that's easy.
I mean, you gotta crush that one, right?
That one's easy. That one's easy money.
Give me that. Give me that.
Yeah, that's easy money. Bonner at rushing and receiving yards is under. Like I think that was I don't think he's scoring again.
That was a great play.
Great play, but it's like they're going to see Bonner in the backfield and be like, Bonner's in.
Okay, yeah, right. Yeah, we got this one now.
Yeah.
Thanks. Who do you think scores our touchdowns?
I think we'll score a lot. I think we'll score 35.
Okay.
So with that, Dylan's going to easily have 2. Mayor's going to have 1. Banks going to have 1. Dowdell hopefully have 2. There's 4. Get 1 more from like Fedoni.
I like Fedoni's a good pick.
So that's 5. But
separate bet was Fedoni's over under on yardage was I believe 19.5.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. Take that one.
Smash that one.
I mean, it's one every catch he makes is like 19 yards.
So we're going Nair over 43.5. We're going Fedoni over 19.5. We're going touchdown. This is a huge parlay we're building. Touchdown.
Baby
touchdown
rich.
Banks. Touchdown Nair.
Yeah.
2 touchdowns Rayola.
Yeah.
Touchdown Dowdle. Touchdown Fedoni.
That Ramir Johnson one at a rushing receiving touchdown. That one's like a little.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
So Ramir at 0.5 rushing over under at 0.5 rushing receiving touchdowns and 24 rushing yards. You don't know. I mean, I would say yes, like because all of these are kind of right at. That's why these freaking sites are so good. They're kind of all right at where I think the game will be. Like I think Dowdell will be
like most of the time. So
well, I just think it's like Dowdell will be at 50 to 60 yards. Ramiro will be at 20 to 30.
Sure.
Like these aren't like outlandish numbers. It's not like it doesn't say over under Jamal Banks 4 touchdowns. It's like 0.5. Like
you would think.
I would think. I would think our best wide receiver would catch 1 touchdown pass. Like I would think Naor would catch 1 touchdown pass. Like that's seemingly like manageable. Or like Ramir at 39 receiving yards is a little kind of a lot. 24 rushing yards feels manageable.
24 for Ramir does feel manageable. He's just got to break 1. Yeah, I mean it's crazy. Like I tweeted this today as well. Our average time of possession is 34 minutes, 44 seconds. Purdue's average time of possession is 22 minutes. Our average plays per game 74 to Purdue's 50, and the different. I mean that's. So over the course of 3 games, you're averaging 24 more plays per game on offense.
Yep.
Like that's over the course of 3 games, that's another game that you've played.
Yeah.
It's 24 plays per game more. Is insane. So like, God, you've got to get this offense like clicking early and often, but I just want to see us establish the run. Just so badly.
Yeah, and I'm responding to it. So Jeff Olson wrote, Nebraska needs to win the next 3 games to qualify for a bowl game. I think I generally agree with the sentiment in the sense that like these next 3 are must wins. I don't agree though in the sense that I don't think Wisconsin's that good. I think Iowa's obviously good each year. USC, like I think we may match up better with USC just because of the way we played against Colorado. And UCLA is not good. So I think there's like, if we can play the way we're supposed to play, like I don't think losing out from Ohio State is what we're going to do. But it would be nice. It'd be nice to have 6 wins going into Ohio State, get the monkey off your back, and then you win.
I mean, you were at 10-2. Where are you? Where'd you fall to after Illinois?
Which day? Right now or like on?
As of Thursday.
I'm still at like. I still think. I mean, there's Kool-Aid still flowing. I still think you can. I still think I'm in that 8 to 9 range.
Okay.
Realistically, probably 8.
Yeah.
Boy, and the ninth win to me is Wisconsin.
I like that.
I think 8
Or Iowa.
Yeah, or Iowa. Oh, I guess I think Wisconsin's going to lose again this weekend. I forget who they play now. I think they play US. Who do they play? Shoot.
Oh, it's USC.
Yeah, so I think they're going to lose again. Yeah, they play USC. They're going to lose again. They're going to lose a couple more games. They're going to lose to Penn State. They're going to lose Iowa. They're going to be struggling by the time they come to us. So I guess I was at 10. I'm safely down at 8 to 9, which would still be a fantastic season. I just really hope we don't go down to
Yeah.
6, 7 is
Yeah. I mean,
it's improvement, but it's kind of
7.5. 7.5 was the line in Vegas, and that really still feels it's going to be right. I think it's 7 or 8.
Yeah, you're kind of right in there. It depends on how you get to 7. Is it do you really win the next 3 and then lose out? That would suck. That's not fun.
Yeah, and then I mean, my goodness, you hope to win a good bowl game and everything, and then gosh, we lose a lot. We lose a lot this season, but we're not there yet. We're going to be Purdue first.
Purdue.
I feel like this is the ultimate hey coach, get everybody back on track. We got to beat Purdue Pete. Look at this guy. Look at this freaking guy. Purdue Pete. It's like the worst designed mascot. First of all, look at the plastic just hanging out over the front of his chest. It looks so dumb.
You're boiling.
His eyes are in the constant state of shock. I mean, just he's constantly looks like he just did some amphetamines and went to a concert that he wasn't supposed to be at or something.
Purdue Pete.
It looks absolutely ridiculous. We have to beat this team. We have to run the ball down their freaking throats. There's no way we are losing. I'm not going to make outlandish bets like the Florida State guy that said he would eat poop out of a cup if they lost to BC. That guy probably isn't feeling too great right now, but I don't think we can lose this game.
Yeah, I think I've seen this a couple times from James Coughlin. Do you play Mizuka no matter what to win? Yes. I think you just got to get right with him. Figure it out. That to me is that's a coaching
thing. On special teams against Illinois, which was so strange to me.
Get him in the game. Figure it out.
Teams.
Have a 2-hour long meeting have a 2-hour long meeting with the guy.
Go to therapy.
Figure out what it's going to take to get him on the field and get him on the field. That's coaching to me. You got to get that kid on the field.
He might be our best O lineman. Like Sipple and Callahan. They said they'd be surprised if he doesn't play this weekend, and I'm taking their word for it because 2 games is okay. I think the point has been made.
Yeah, we got it.
Right? He's recovering from whatever at this point. Message has been sent. Get him in the game so he can go and maul these fools.
You need him. All right, so the spread is 10. Do you think we covered?
Given that Notre Dame won by 59 points, I like to think that we would stay within 40 something of Notre Dame. So I'm going to go with yes, the transitive property. Yes, we cover the 10.
I think we covered by a lot. I think it's gonna be 35-14, something like that. But then here's pulling up the over under at 49.5.
I think 35-14 sounds right.
Which is 40, 49. Yeah.
Under
49. Okay. Yeah. I think that's about right. I don't think there's gonna be a ton of points. I think we don't blow teams out and they don't score. So I think it's under. I just give me a nice 14-point win. Just
2 possession. Keep it out of touch.
Don't make me grind through this thing.
And the vibes will be all the way back up.
Vibes will be back. We'll dial them back up. Thanks everybody for listening to the House Guys podcast. Hopefully next week is a lot more upbeat and we can talk through a win. Vibes have been very low. They're gonna be all the way back up. Thanks for listening, everybody. Check out HuskGuyStore.com. Check out pipeline-turkey.com. Thank you for listening as always, and go Big Red. Let's beat Purdue.